Hi everyone, Brian and I are back to finalize this Blazor virtualization component that we call B virtualization. It's a component that is meant to provide a state-of-the-art component UI control for Blazor developers to have infinite scrolling with whatever data source they have. And as usual, joined by my very dear friend here, Brian. Hi, Brian. It's good to see you
Hi,
again.
everyone.
We are going to, last time we did a little bit of quick POC and we got a passing test. We just want to make sure that things are clear and clean, before we
Mhm.
move on to the next thing. If we can come out today with a good deliverable, for that component, and then we can add the handling of the exceptions and all that kind of stuff. I think we're almost there,
Mm.
technically. Let me share my screen with you here, Brian, real quick, and let me go to um, so here is my screen. Did I tell you that I really love this StreamYard stuff? I love that app. It's
Mm.
beautiful. All right, here we go. So so let's see here. So last time we had the should render content, right? And we basically went and said, okay, give me an expected state. This is the random data that's coming in. And then we basically said my expected data source should match in my input data source. And basically, we basically created a component, a render fragment, and we basically said, this is my expected fragment, and we went and verified that. We passed in the child content and the data source, as we expect people to do,
Mhm.
and then the service took that and basically did the processing of take skip, which we have already tested in lower levels. I think the last thing we were going to do here, and I think we missed that one last time, is the count of the rendered components. I basically went in there and I said, hey, create random queryable, right? This random queryable in here. And this filler here basically goes and says create a filler of a list and give me a random object, and this is the object that's going to give me all the stuff that I need, whatever the object may be. And then back here, I have this list in here. Now, the question here is whether the count of the items in that list is proper or not. I just want to make sure that it's actually creating something. It's not just
Mhm.
doing, things. So this is something that we can start with, right? I'm going to go up in here and say, here's my test. I'm going to go down here. Let's see. So here is, so here is my test. Let's go to should render component like this. Yeah, so this guy technically should go and tell me, at least the number of things here have changed. There you go. So I don't need that guy anymore, really. This is from last time when we were debugging. And that's a good thing that this is still here, so people know I'm not really doing any magic behind the scenes. I'm actually doing the work here. So this should render component, and that's my breakpoint. I thought I put the breakpoint already there. That's odd. Here we go. Here we go. And then that means that this data source, the expected data source in here should be different every time. So that's my guy. So there's three here. I see three. So if I run it again, does that mean it will give me three? If it gives me three, then we have a problem because this is not really random. It's not. It's actually random. The other thing here is that do you see how the same item that is
We're
being
not seeing
created?
that. We're not seeing the little pop-up dialogues come up. I know
Oh,
you
it's
hold
not
it.
showing you. Oh, shoot. Okay, let me see. But you can see this screen though, right? This one here.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the result view, what do you notice here? These numbers are random, but it's the
Mhm.
same element. That's bad. We're gonna need to change that. So I'm gonna go up in here and do this. Check this out. Instead of say create random object, I'm gonna say execute creating a random object every time. So every time you
Mm.
try to get a new record, go and execute, and let's see if that works. What do you think, Brian? This might work. Might work.
Yep.
Here we
I
go.
was going to. I was going to see if we're actually going to test the actual contexts that are coming in past to each render fragment.
Yes, we will. Yes.
Yep.
So okay. So this guy here, I'm gonna go and do quick watch. And well, not this one. Where is it? This guy. Quick watch. Yeah, now see how it's different? It's actually
Yep,
different.
perfect.
So that's great. That means that we're doing, now it's giving me a different value. Now the other thing that I can do is, oh, by the way, Brian, did you see the little the new icon? I just updated Visual Studio. Do you see this little fire icon? This fire
Yep,
icon ch changed at least 3 times throughout the beta
yep.
version of Visual Studio. And
Mhm.
it never works with me though. Some people told me online on YouTube that there is the it needs to be within the same directory, like your Blazor, instance
Yeah.
needs to run from the same directory. I don't know. I'll
Uh,
give it a shot. Hmm.
I've been using .NET Watch from a command prompt, and I found that it doesn't have to be in the same directory because quite often I'm making Blazor WebAssembly apps, and WebAssembly apps have three, as you know, three projects, and
Yep, yep.
yeah,
The
and you're
server
only
and the
really you're really only wanting to watch the client, especially when you're doing the client UI stuff. And but I find that I've just set the watch up on the server and it works fine.
okay. If it works for you, then we're gonna try it together. We're gonna do some
Yeah.
WebAssembly stuff. We want to make this component also. I think it can be WebAssembly friendly. Once it should just work. But okay, so here's what I have. So now this is random. This is truly random. We're passing this in there, and we're actually rendering the component X number of times. What should be our? So I'm just gonna put a commit here, a quick commit here, and say code rub randomize iQueryable for data source. Okay, so here's one. Now, um, so we're passing in a data source. The problem that I have now is that I want to be able to pass in a parameter. Remember this conversation you and I had about the count, right? Or where I want to start, right? What do you think about that?
I This is stuff that's sort of, I think it's features you're bringing in that I'm not comprehending fully yet. And this is because you're opening up the scope of my component that I originally had as a POC. And I keep on having this narrow-minded view of what I did in the POC, if that
Let's
makes sense.
let's think about this together, okay? Let's see
Yeah.
if people would actually use this. If people
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be able, because this is really what matters. We want to build something that's useful to people. If I'm using this B virtualization component,
Mm-hmm.
how would it know by default? Like the component itself, if you look at the component itself is telling you in here. Let's go into the base component. So the component itself is offering the capability to go and say something to the effect of, is it, I think it's something like start from the item size. That's just the size of the item. That doesn't matter, right? And then the items, and then over scan count, right?
Yes. So overscan count is saying you're telling it that even though you've got X amount of pixel space on the screen, I want you to pull an extra 4 records or an extra 3 records just in case.
I see.
It's a bit of a buffer. Yeah.
It's like a buffer, right?
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
with spotty networks, and you don't know if the next couple of minutes would actually let
Mm.
you pull that data.
By default, it's set to 3, which is interesting. So it's pulling an extra 3 records more. I don't know if that means 3 records on top and bottom, so a total of 6 records, but it's pulling at least an extra 3 records that's visible on the screen.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to think here, like if I have a list and I'm throwing that list to the B virtualization component, I want to be
If
able to
you
fill in a page worth. Go ahead, go ahead.
if you go to source.net,
Source.net.
source.net, yeah,
Yeah, source.net. Yeah, one sec. Let me.
and you can find the virtualized component in there. I only learned about that last night. I was watching some videos from some crazy guy.
I totally don't know who could that be. So source.net. Let's see. Virtualization.
Virtualize, yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, where is it? I sort of found it last night. I think it's just virtualize the name of the
Just
component.
virtualize. Okay, virtualize
There it
component.
is. Virtualize T item right there at the top.
Okay, so that's the source code.
Yeah, and there we can see the parameters it asks for and what it injects. So that's the privates down a bit further.
Okay, so that's all private, and then it's injecting IJS runtime, understandable, child content, item
So,
item content. See, look at the
so
item size.
so item content and child content. This is what I was talking about yesterday.
Uh,
It's either one or the other. So if you go with just child content, so if you want to render a placeholder
mhm.
while it's doing a load, like you want to a spinner or something, you need to use the placeholder in the item content. But if you're not concerned about the placeholder, you just use the child content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then you have items providers and items over scan count. Yeah, they don't have. They basically try to handle that on their own. They basically go
Mm.
and say,
Yep.
um, and Brian, the item size is basically how much it takes on the screen. So these are pixels, basically.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yep.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And this
And
is, from what I understand, this is what it uses for its initial guess. Once it starts getting data and starts rendering, it adjusts those figures itself.
I wonder if it's trying to find out like the space it can fill, and that's how it determines, on a pixel level. Go ahead,
But,
go ahead.
I'm sure that's exactly what it's doing, and that's what it's. Yeah.
That makes
That's,
sense. That
yeah.
makes sense. Okay, let's go back to this guy. Here's what we can do then. We can go back to this guy here. And what we can do, let me run a cleanup real quick. And what we can do is to at least kind of handle the exceptions that happen, potentially out of trying to retrieve data out of whatever iQueryable we have. It's going to be very interesting because you and I are going to have to jump right into a smaller component that takes in an iQueryable and hits an API endpoint for OData and brings it back. I'll even
Mhm.
make it more generic. I'll have it be compatible with both OData and GraphQL and any other technology, out there.
Yep.
So, okay, so here is code rub, code cleanup. I just learned yesterday that code cleanup is one word. I was always doing it with two words or with a dash, with a hyphen. I don't know why, but that's what I was doing. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna build a test in here, and the test basically will say when the particular component is being consumed through an exception, and we want to handle that exception by saying, hey, there's been an error in the system. We can do this very easily by just simply going and saying, let's see here, where's my dependencies? So we know for a fact that it's calling the dependencies, but we can't mock these dependencies, not just yet, because now these dependencies are hidden behind the scene. What do you think about exposing these dependencies so we can control from the test? So basically, I can go here and say, okay, this is my B virtualization component in here, and I'm basically passing this down to the virtualization service, which is being initialized this way, right? I want to be able to inject whatever I want in this virtualization service, even after post initialization. So when this
Mhm.
service is being called, I can go and say, okay, now we just need to kind of think a little bit about this one, because in the virtualization part, we know that we're calling this load page. I want to cause an error in here intentionally. I want to go and say an issue. We can actually just pass in a null as data source and see what happens, but it's not my preferred way of doing things. I want to be able to go like this and say, let's turn this guy into I virtualization service of type T, right? And that's my virtualization service. I'll just say X for now, for the time being.
Mhm.
And what I'm basically gonna go and do is that I'm gonna go and say if this virtualization service, let me take this guy out for a second. Let me put this guy here. Let me put this guy here. Okay. What I can basically go here and say is that if it's if it's not already set, so if this be virtualization component, virtualization service is not already set, then go ahead and initialize it. So I'm gonna use this kind of, did you know that they call this an Elvis notation? This one. Elvis. This is the safe navigation that, C
Mm.
Sharp stole from Python. It looks like Elvis because of the little hair, the little hair
Ah.
from the question. The nerdy way to call it is safe navigation, but in here I call it Elvis notation. Anyway, so me here going and saying, okay, if this guy's null, go ahead and set it, and I'm gonna try to set this guy in off the bat and see what that means for us, basically in terms. Okay, let me try this. Let me see if I can do this. So I'm gonna go and mock this guy here. Private mock I virtualization service. Oops, that's bad. I I hope it didn't go. Yeah, it goes and creates a. I never used that. Have you ever used that feature, like writing in the model before you actually
I have sometimes.
virtualization? Oh, you did? Okay. I still need to run into that situation, Brian. I didn't. I always start from the models intentionally because
Yep.
this is how I visualize everything. This is how I simulate what these models are doing. But
When I'm POCing, I just start typing, and then I tell it to create the model for me, and then I go to it, and then I fill it out.
yep, yep. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay, so this is virtualization service mock, and I'm gonna register. I don't think I need to register by. Let's see. This guy needs a type, so I'm gonna say an object in here. And then I can go up in here and say this dot virtualization service mock equal give me the mock. Great. And then I'm gonna use that in a little unorthodox way. I'm gonna go here and say, okay, you already rendered, so you already initialized. I'm gonna go up in here and say this dot rendered component dot instance dot virtualization service x equals, and this is where I come in and say, okay, this virtualization service mock, I'm gonna set it up so when it's being called for, sorry, not broker, service, when it's being called for load page of any number, really, it it is any, and this guy takes in a uint, I think, and then another uint. So it is any uint. Then go ahead and throw an exception. Okay. Now let me just write another test for this so I don't ruin this one. I'm gonna go here and say fact public void should render error when exception occurs. Just like this. So here's a given, here's a when, here's a then. I'm not gonna touch this guy. This guy is actually perfect. I'm gonna take this guy in here. I'm just gonna pretend there's an error that happened. Okay, so that means that my component state expected state should be dot error. So that's one. And then my friend, I need an exception. So there is some exception. We don't care really. It's just an exception. Happened like this. And maybe some message. Some message. And this is get random. Do I have a thing that gives me a random message? Let's see.
I thought we
Create
did.
queryable. No, we don't. Okay, sounds good. No problem. It's easy. Private static string get random massage. And let's go here and say new mnemonic string dot get value. Do we have a thing that gets number? We don't. Okay, it's not a realistic message until it has more than just one word. And also you want to make sure that it's not your logic is not doing anything funny with.
You got spelled random wrong, mate.
Yeah, get and then you have word count. I think it's on this level. So this word count, get random number. Oh, get random come on,
You,
random
you got radum.
radom. ran. Okay. All right. All right. Here's a message. Get a random message. Here you go. And now I can throw that message in here. And my expectation is that the label now is not going to be, so I'm going to go here and say string expected error message. This is some message. Let's call it random message. Because the right side is not clear about the type, I'm going to have to explicitly say what this is. Random message. And here's another one. That's the exception message. And I'm basically saying the exception message is what's happening here. And now let's fake the exception. Let's go here and say, when, data source mock, virtualization service mock setup. And here's my service. And the service dot load page. Come on, load page. It is any uint, and then it is any, don't care about what's being passed in here, uint.
And you just
Right?
throw.
Yep, and then throws, and that guy throws an exception. And
uint, you got uint there wrong. You got
I
uint.
got unit. I can't wait to show you. Actually, there's something called qbit like this. Have you heard of it?
I have actually. But yeah, no, only vaguely. Yes, I've only heard of it.
So qbit is basically a data type in a language, a programming language Microsoft is developing. It's called QSharp. It's quantum computing, quantum
Ah,
programming language. I'll start doing some demos and videos and tutorials for this one because it's really like a lost art. Nobody knows anything about that. And people stopped talking about it for a
uint.
while.
That's an int, not a uint.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to
No,
interject.
you're fine. You're all right. I promise you, you're totally fine. Now, let's just pass in some parameters that we really don't care about, but we just really want to pass these parameters because, so, here's input child content. I want basically half of this, just half. Not all of it, just half. So here's what I need. Because this is just, I'm going to say some data because this is not crucial to my work. This is not what I care about. So that takes away all of this. And in here, I'm going to say some child content because it's also not crucial to my work. It's just something that I need to pass in order to make things work. And some data goes up in here and some child content is in here. And then now I can render things and now I can verify things. Let's see here if we can make this work. I'm going to go back up in here and say, give me this guy. But now I'm going to try to inject this service. So I'm going to go here and say this dot rendered component. It already initialized its own, but I'm going to reinitialize it. Render component dot instance dot service equals this dot the mock, the service mock dot object. So this is how I kind of injected that guy in there. And I don't think this guy needs to be X anymore. I really don't, because I already took that guy out, right? So this guy doesn't need to be X anymore. It's kind of bothersome. All right, so this is it. So if it's initialized, do this, but I'm gonna go up anyway, and I'm gonna go and reinitialize it because I can. And I'm gonna go up in here and say this dot rendered component dot instance dot state should be expected state, and that state should be error. But also this dot rendered component dot instance dot error message should be expected error message. And then this dot rendered component dot instance dot label should not be null. And then I want this guy again dot value. So the value on this guy should be expected error message. Now, one more thing. I need to go up in here and say this dot the mock verify broker service. I want to verify that this service here has been called only once. So it takes only one time for it to fail in order for that to happen. And then the last thing here is to verify that this guy have had no other failures. Let's run this first and see. Ideally, I want this to come here and say, you know, no errors occurred. I expected the label to be visible, but nothing really happened. And then you and I get to use this really cool thing called Pretty Blazor. Pretty Blazor comes in to kind of switch the rendering completely outside of the, yeah, there you go. And this guy is saying, expected the enum. Yep, there you go. You have a failing test. Yay. Ryan, are you excited? Tell me. All right, my friend, go for it. Give it a shot. I mean, worth the shot. We'll see.
Just let me load a few things and I'll share my screen.
Yep.
My daughter's sending me messages.
That's fine. Take your time. I'm here.
I think I shared the right screen, did we?
Yes, you did. Here we are.
Awesome. So what have I got open here? Okay, I need to go back to main and sync that, I guess.
No. This is all in the branch that's called Brian L. Parker / components -B virtualization.
Probably the one I just, this one.
Yeah, no, the one that you had was a code drop. This was something else. Yeah.
Yep. This one I need to pull.
Yes, sir.
Yep. We're on the views, won't we? Just close other tabs. And we're working on this one?
Yes. So let's
Yeah.
run all the tests first. That's usually my style. I just run all the tests and
Yeah.
then I see where the problem is. You know, you and I will be doing a little bit of like kind of foundation level services at some point beyond what you and I just did in here, and you'll see that sometimes tests are only subject to change as long as your logic is changing. We go back and running all the tests tells you, hey, by the way, by making this test pass, you broke 3 others. You know, this
Mm-hmm.
happened to me these days more often than ever, especially when you add in date-time validations and stuff. All right, you have the one. Wait, it says 2. Why 2?
Mm.
What's up with the other one? Oh, is it because... Ah, 2 times? How come 2 times? Okay, so hold on a second. I was supposed to give you only one failing test. So I'm gonna take
Mm-hmm.
it on me to fix that one. So give me 1 second, Brian. I'm gonna take your screen for 1 second, okay?
No worries.
Let me go back here. Yeah, if you're pairing with someone, if you tell them I'm gonna give you one failing test, then you should give them just one failing test. Unless this is something on their machine, then that's their problem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's your machine.
Ah! What have I done?
Run it again, just out of curiosity. Is this a randomizer thing that's happening? Is it only USA kind of?
Oh,
Oh, we found a flaky test.
yeah.
Wonderful. Amazing opportunity for code drop. All right, don't worry about that one for now. Let's see if we can do this one. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you want me to...
Uh-huh. So the part where it calls the service, we basically want to go and say wrap it up in a try catch. Let's start with that. On the component level. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
So let's have a look who behind.
Yes, sir.
So we want to throw where?
So we want to basically, this place where we call load page, we basically want to wrap that up in a try catch.
This
And if
here.
it yeah, and if it fails, Brian, we want to be able to go and say, take that failure and change the state of the component. Let's start
Right.
with a try catch. Let's try. Let's give it a try catch first. Yep. All of it. Let's take all of it. Let's take all of it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Nice.
Okay.
And now
So
we
you.
wanna change the state of the component, right?
So this dots.
State.
Having fat fingers today.
Fine. We probably also want to call state has changed, I think.
Ooh, do we have to anymore?
I'm hoping we don't have to, but I think we do.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the other thing is we want to just fill in the error label. Yeah, let's fill in the error label with the stuff. Yep, yes, sir. Exception.message.
We didn't capture it here.
Oh, we didn't capture. Right.
Yeah, now, well, what do you prefer here? Some people just use E, some people use the word except.
Spell it out. Oh, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. You know how much I talk? That's how much I go.
That what we want?
Yeah,
Or
and now,
or the inner message, just that message.
no, just the message, because at this level. And then the other thing we want to do, my friend, is that we want to go on the UI side. So install Pretty Blazor first, because that's how we're gonna do that shift. Pretty Blazor. The best thing about Pretty Blazor is that it's the reason why you and I get to talk to each other today. You know, just grabbed your attention and you said, "Hey, you can make it better." I was like, "Okay, let's make it better."
I forget who did Pretty Blazor. One word.
Yep. Pretty Blazor.
There it is.
Yep, there it is. That's the one. Yep. You and I should probably work on giving this Pretty Blazor an upgrade in terms of you'll see there is something called condition and evaluation, and I want to make it just one line, not two. So let's go inside your component and let's do this. So you can start by just opening up a tag and say, you know, condition. Yeah, see, it's pulling it. There it is.
Oh, sorry. Yep, I was going to just do the using. And there it is.
Yep.
I'll just put the using up the top. That's fine.
This library is one of, you know, it just blew off. People really loved it. People really loved. Some people gave me some really strong feedback for it. They'd be like, "No, we don't really want to do business logic and markup." But that's the internet for you, right? I'm okay with hearing these ideas. It's a really old school way of going and saying, you know what, you know, we don't want a obtrusive, you know, markup code in there. Okay, so inside that condition, my friend, we want to add in something that's called evaluation, like no, as a property.
Yep.
And that's where you go and say, you know, if the state equals something, then go ahead and.
So this is logic again in the HTML that we should probably push to.
You know how I would do this? I would write like a private method in my component that says is state this, is state this, is state that. That's how I would do it. Just tiny private methods at the very bottom, you know, that'll do that for me, because I agree with you. The whole point of Pretty Blazor is not to have to write business logic in your code.
Yeah, it's interesting you said method, but I sometimes use what do you call them? Calculated
routine.
properties. Yeah, I use a property that's like a calculated value. So.
Oh, a property. If you want, go for it. I'm okay.
Yeah,
But your property is gonna be public. That means you have to
yeah,
test it. Just letting you know.
yeah. So whatever. No, we'll go your way, and
Okay.
then I'll show you. Yeah. So you would go with so it's a bull. I can't remember. Of course, it's a bull. Where's my
Yes.
cache log? What'd you
So
say?
is state content.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, and you do this, and which would lead to.
Yep. State. Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir. That's the one. Yeah. Let's go and throw that in there. Go
So
ahead.
the only subtle difference I do is just that. That's
I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. It's actually cleaner if you want, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does it reevaluate, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. If that's the case, I'm okay with that. Okay, so inside that guy, now open up a tag and say true.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
match.
So you,
Match, sorry, match.
that's
Yep.
your render fragment name. Yep.
And now you can move that render fragment inside. Yep, Control KD, take away the space. Now we need one just like this, and this is where Pretty Blazor could improve. You know, could have multiple conditions and stuff. Like right now I have match, no match, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need a whole, instead of having no match in here because we're looking for another state, specific state, we want to go and say is state error because there's another state called loading that we haven't
All
taken
right.
care of yet.
So you have to put you have to nest a condition inside this. I
No.
guess.
I usually just put them on top of each other, like condition evaluation, condition evaluation. The goal here, Brian, is to build a new thing in Pretty Blazor that you don't have to do that nesting anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You basically go say evaluate condition. And
Yep.
whatever, if that condition is true, I'll add it. I'll add it tonight. No problem. I'll do that.
So this one is, sorry, the condition of this one
Is
is
state error. Yep.
No worries.
Yep. Yep. Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And now we just inside match, we're just gonna call the label that we created, and that label we're gonna put the message inside of it, and that's all, my friend. Yep, that's a label.
Yep.
And then give it a ref and say it's a label. And a lot of people from the React world told me that ref thing is a React kind of thing to do.
Yeah. Do we need a ref? Why do we need a ref?
If you don't do ref, it will say that your label is null. There is no way to tell that it rendered on your screen. So inside that ref, you pass in that property that's called label, right? In the component code in the backend, right? So just type label in there.
Okay.
Yes. If this guy is null, and our test checks if this guy is null or not, right? If this guy is null, that means the component didn't render because it didn't attach to anything on the screen. That's how I test that. Now let me ask you this. Is it better if you just did label without the this, without the double quotes? We were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would, I don't know if you would entertain that idea. Yeah, my friend Josh McCall would love, your style here because he's a big on I already told you he loves. Okay, so the other thing we want to just pass in between that label base, we just want to pass in a value. I think you just need to say value. Yeah.
And that is
that's the error message.
Yeah.
This is new to Blazor. It used to be really angry when you do stuff like that. Okay, let's run the test, my friend. That's it.
I'm not sure if it got that, did it? It's not telling me.
I sure hope so. See if it builds. If it builds, that means it's happy with you. If
Yeah.
it doesn't, then we're gonna have to put an @ sign there. Sorry, Brian. That's the there
Well,
you go. And the error is oh, not all code return a path. Oh, this is in our code. What is
hmm,
this guy tripping about? Oh, because you don't throw the exception. It still wants you to return something,
yeah.
and this is because you don't throw the exception, right?
Yeah.
So what we can do, um, let's see here. Let's return default by now, for now.
Okay.
Default. Yes. Let's see.
Like, yeah.
If it builds, then it's happy with your label. Definitely.
We're good.
Okay, let's run the test. Technically, the test should pass. Let's see. Ah, what do we have here? It says I expected the value to be or but found content. So did it not
Yeah. Something wrong with the code. It didn't change the state.
yes. Oh, I think it's invoke async change has state. I bet that's what it is. So if you go back into your code, instead of just saying state has changed, just say invoke async and that'll fix it.
Oops.
This is one of these.
Sorry, where?
So double click on the file that's already highlighted. Double click on that guy.
mhm.
And then inside the part where you say state has changed, just say invoke async before it.
Ah,
Yes,
I know.
there you go. I bet you that will
Oops.
make it pass. Let's see.
Mm,
Still mad?
still mad.
Let's try this again. It doesn't like it. Line 95. Let's click on that guy real quick. Oh, that's the test. That's the test. Hmm. It says, can you send it over to me? Let me try. I'll poke at it. I will poke at it. You can put in the test name and just say WIP.
Really? Yep.
Yeah.
I thought
That
you didn't
means
like
like,
W.
yeah,
Work in
we're
progress.
yeah, normally I don't do that, but because it's focused on the one test, yes sir. Let's go. Yep.
Up it
Okay,
goes.
yeah, let's see if that's the case. So here is sync. Okay. And I remember in here what we did is that we went and said, hey, ensure that these things has happened, and you actually rendered all of these components and all that good and dandy. So that basically means my B virtualization component here has this guy may not have actually, actually threw the exception, so we'll test it. Let me run everything first. Okay, and now this guy. Did it actually throw the exception? That's the question. Yep, there you go. And then it should jump. Ah, see, it didn't catch that. Then that guy is not the mocked object that we thought it would be. And why is that? Let's see. That's what it is. The test itself. So this guy didn't get set up right. And let me fix my test to kind of accommodate that. Actually, we can even fool this guy. Instead of trying to mock and do all that, why don't I just send this guy as null? And just see what happens. It'll definitely piss it off. because the service is going to throw an exception for sure. Haha, there you go. It says render component. I expected the error message to be something with the length of that, but the message was an error occurred, contact support this guy
Yeah.
here. So I
So
can actually go ahead.
yeah, so it didn't. Yeah, it threw its own error, and you didn't. Yeah, didn't force the error that you wanted. Yes.
Right, and I actually don't. Okay, if that's the case, I can get rid of this guy. I'm okay with that. Let me see if I can. I wasn't happy with that anyway. I wanted to actually cause a real exception. So let me go here and let the service kind of validate, and I know that the service is gonna freak out and say there's a problem there. So, okay, let me go down here. Let me make this guy private the way it was. Private I virtualize service of T, virtualization service. And then this guy can go up in here. This feels much more natural than anything. And then I can go down here and take this guy out. And then yeah, here we go. Okay, so now I can fake that. I can fake that exception, but also more importantly, here's my virtualization service. Here's the implementation. This guy will definitely freak out and throw let's see, so you're passing in this guy. Yeah, virtualization service error occurred, contact support, right? Which is the only exception that we have here. So that's this guy. That's us basically going and saying, give me that error message.
Mm-hmm.
So get rid of all of this. Expected error message. And this is a bit different than the actual web application because of the because we're building a library basically. And let me take care of all of this. This is expected error message. This is all good and dandy. Let me clean up this guy. Don't need that guy anymore. Let me expand on, let's see here, Brian. Let me expand on let me take that guy out too. This guy should technically pass now. Let's see. Okay, now it's saying the label value to be, but error message. So you know what it did? It took it as a string.
Mm-hmm.
How is that even possible? There's no double quotes in there. There you go. This guy will pass. That's it.
So that means I was going to do that other work again that I did for you the other night.
What? What other work? Tell me.
I did for the portal.
Oh,
I should probably push that all back to ads.
for Tarafu portal?
No, for Triple S portal.
Oh, OSSS portal? Yeah, probably. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean for OSSS, because it's actually an integrated service and you're not building a component, you're actually using that. That's okay. I can mock a service and throw an exception from the service. But this is a library that we're building. Where are you going to register your service? There's no registration here, right? So that's different. Okay, so this guy passes. Can you think of anything else that we need to do in this library other than just use it in the real world?
Oh, lots of things.
A lot of
Yeah.
things, right? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to at least like the way I was thinking when because I'm basically wrapping the virtualization component, and we need to expose everything it can do. Otherwise, we're sort of taking away from it. And I think we need to be able to pass in a render fragment for loading and
Yes, I agree. I see
yeah,
what you're saying. Okay,
yeah,
so our next session can be to allow passing in, and that's gonna be very easy thanks to
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I can go here and say, item component, and I can make a new component that I can call something like loading component. And I say this loading component is supposed to be displayed when the component is in loading state. That will be the easiest thing in the world
Mm-hmm.
because and then in the error, so now in the error area, do you want they're gonna have to pass in a component, but that component should also allow passing in an error message to it. So we're gonna have to
Yeah,
force
well,
them a little bit.
it actually wants you to pass in a render fragment that passes in I think it's a render fragment that takes a error message,
A
or a
string.
render, yeah,
A
or
string
a render
message.
fragment that takes an exception. I can't remember. It's one of the two.
I'm okay with both of these. Let's do the
Yeah.
loading tomorrow.
Yes.
Let's do the loading tomorrow. But for this one, I think this is a pretty good stop. I think we handled the exceptions in here. I think
Yep.
we just want to allow people. So let me just do a little bit of cleanup, more cleanup in here. Um, let's see
This
here.
is what I'm
Code.
saying. We're on the downhill run now. We're actually just looking at the peripherals now and trying to make it a more of a robust product, and
Yep. Yep.
adding the features other engineers would want rather than just the core functionality.
Yep. And a part of our work as well, we're gonna have to go out there and kind of find a logo for your library.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hard part.
Without breaking anyone's rules.
Without breaking anyone's rules. And
Yeah.
it's gonna have to have kind of unique colors. And you know, I'll show you, and I'll show people watching us, you know, how, you know, this comes into play. Okay, I'm gonna merge this PR break because I think it's in a good state. Everything else we add forward from there is additional capability that can have its own PR. Let me switch over to the library here real quick, Brian. And you know, you doing this, you're kind of doing me a really nice favor because my Git file or profile doesn't have components yet because I pushed all my components directly. So that'll give both of us components in our Git file profile, which I'm super excited about, honestly. So okay, so let me create this. So it looks at the commit. So Git file will look and say who participated in this, the two people, and then give them kind of credit. So this is components, yay. And then this is the V virtualization component, feature complete, beautiful. So here's this guy. Have we not done, probably Shri already did. Yeah, of course you did. The passing and running of all that. This is perfect. You know, let me tell you something about this project. This is really fun. Like you and I have been kind of, it's like we were going on a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
We started from the data side and then we did the UI side, ran into problems. Guys, if you're watching this, you know, this is literally how software development happens. You have no idea what you're gonna run into, and then you need to think really quickly on your feet. You need experience. You need to bring in things from the past. As you saw, we basically picked up, you know, pieces of code from different things that we've done in the past. We've done a little bit of research, mostly Brian, really. They're going and doing research and saying, oh, be careful, this B unit library has a new upgrade because the .NET 6 RC2 is running into problems. This is pair programming. This is collaborative work that even after the session is over, you're looking after your buddy. You're basically going and saying, I know we're going to get stuck in this tomorrow. Let me go. And Brian is so patient because I kind of skipped a couple of meetings, as you guys see, but you know, he's very, very kind and very, very patient to kind of allow me to, you know, have that little little leeway. So okay. So all right, here's the stuff. I'm just gonna take a quick look. Wow, 50 files, Brian. That's interesting, right?
For
That's a
such a
lot.
simple thing.
Wait. Do we
Whoa,
have additional things in here? Because I
what
see a
happened?
WASM app.
That
Oh,
was
maybe we have an extra
that
thing.
was there. You removed it. Remember?
Yeah, I swear I removed it. That's right. Okay, let me go
Yeah.
back. Yeah, let me go back to Visual Studio. Let's go back to
Did
Visual
I?
Studio.
Did it come back in from my?
The thing about Visual Studio though is that okay, so
It's not
there
on
is
mine.
okay, virtualization build. Okay, I think it might still be living in the directory.
Yes.
So let me go into the directory.
I'm
Here it
checking mine
is.
as well.
Here it is, Brian. I see it. I see it. I see it with my own eyes.
Same here. Yeah.
Here it is. Client WASM. I don't think we need that guy, right? So that guy can go. Do you see anything else that needs? No, I think we're good. I think we're
Yeah.
good.
I think that may have come from me. I had that folder in mine.
No
So
worries. No worries. No worries, my friend. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna go back to Visual Studio is not able to catch this. I'm actually really surprised that it didn't tell me anything. But I'm gonna go like this and say git add git commit dash m code rub remove WASM project. Ooh, and then git push. Yeah, 50 files is a little suspicious. I was like, wait a second. 50 files? That doesn't sound right. All right, my friend. Let's go to Window, Component, Refresh. 11 files. I can get behind 11 files. Right, I can get behind that. So, okay, this is the should initialize, should render, and then should render error exception. And then, let's see here, B virtualization component tests. And then we have the class. We have you upgraded B unit. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Eagle. Thank you, guys. And then there is delete me page. I'll leave this here just so we can try things tomorrow on it.
Mhm.
Look at that. No code, nothing. Just is state content. Oh man, this is beautiful. Look at this. This is just pure markup. Just a little references. Nothing more. Okay. Yeah, I'm good. If you're good, I'm good.
Looks
You're
good to
ready
me.
to get that component point. So let me tell you this. I'm gonna merge this in, but let me tell you this. How this thing works now is that there's a digestion job that runs in the background, right? So it's not really calculating your effort in real time, right? It's
Mhm.
actually going and it's deferred eventual consistency kind of pattern. So what I know is gonna happen now is that I don't have components in here, but that's gonna show up
Mhm.
on your and my profile. And basically what's going to happen that at the top of any hour, it's going to hit
So it's
like
in
the,
1 hour. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I had the option of running every 15 minutes,
Mhm.
every 30 minutes. You know, the cron job that I actually could show you that. Why wouldn't I? Let me show you. So a cron job that basically runs in, and the cron job basically tells you, you know, how often you want to execute. Cron jobs never made sense to me, man. They're very hard. There it is. Get file kicker. That's what I call it. And yeah, it's super beta, but it's just treating get file like you're my thing now. You know, I get to tell you whatever. And it even tells me like, look at this. This is my favorite part about, you know, Azure is that it gives you visibility, right? See how consistent GitHub timing is running here.
Mhm.
It's a little bit off. Like see 19,000, 197,000 milliseconds, which give or take about 3 minutes of digestion, right?
Mhm.
But also more importantly, you can go here in the integration part and it can show you, okay, this is my trigger, this is my timer trigger, and that's my 1 hour cron job. I'm still trying to kind of wrap my mind around that. It's really not easy to kind of come up of it. Do you have cron jobs off the top of your head? Like, do you think of them off the top of your head by any chance?
No, no, no. I haven't done much with that sort of stuff at all, and I did a little bit with not with cron jobs,
Hmm.
with Service Fabric. You can do similar sort of thing.
Oh, Service Fabric.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
That's right. That's right. Well, here's the test. We have 7 passing tests for a library. That's okay. That's good. And then we're gonna have to kind of add in. By the way, there's also a task called documentation where we can add in more documentation about how to use the library. But it looks like we're in the green, my friend. How do you feel
Mhm.
about our session today? I thought that was pretty cool, as usual.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us today. You know, as usual, Brian and I are going to take this to the next level. Like, technically, the component is ready, right? Technically, we just need to productionize it, meaning that we need to cover up all the other cases. We want to allow people to add in their own loading and their own error kind of components. So I want you to be able to kind of add whatever you want. So right now it's kind of forced. I'm basically going and saying, oh, just show this base label, right? But I want to give you that kind of capability to be able to go and say no, I want to pass in my own stuff so I can handle this because it's a, you know, it's a library, it's built by Brian Parker, it has to be perfect, right? The other thing is that the productionization, and that's basically going to be like one of our last sessions where we go and say, okay, we need to create a new Git library, we need to add in all the details, copyrights, contributors, and authors, all these nice things that you see. I want you guys to see what it's like to publish a brand new NuGet library from scratch. I want you to have that experience. I want you to be able to have this kind of value so you can one day publish your own libraries. I think sharing libraries and making them open source is one of the greatest things humanity have ever invented, right? Being able to share your knowledge, not just your knowledge, you're sharing routines with the world that can make someone else's life so much easier. That's the world of programming, standing on top of the shoulders of the giants.
I know from working in coding shops, a little utility like this, it might seem very simple. It's going to save many, many, many hours of work.
Yep,
It really
yep,
will.
yep. I know very well. This is where we all come from. Anyways, anything else from you, Brian, before we wrap it
No,
up?
no, thank you.
You're
No, thanks,
good.
and yeah, thanks for the time again. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're awesome too. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.